It's the advice I give to young people all the time. It's like, how are you going to differentiate yourself? You coming in, like when I'm looking to hire people, so you're coming in, you're like, I have a marketing degree. Like, I'll be honest, I don't care that much about that because how does that mean that's like in a sport? It's like, oh, I studied basketball. All right, well, that doesn't mean you're going to be a good player at it.
You are now tuned into the HMDL podcast, where we share life-changing career stories in hopes to help inspire growth in your career. I'm your host, Shea Murtaugh, the president of Hoffmann Murtaugh. And today we have a very special guest, Jordon Rooney. Welcome, Jordon. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so I thought it was really great to start out and have a interview with you because you've accomplished so much in as little as 10 years. And so what's interesting about your story is you didn't even go to college for marketing. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, sociology, criminal justice. Basically got a degree with no idea what I was going to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of college grads, right? Isn't that kind of where they are when they first graduate?
Yeah, it was not, I wouldn't say it was a terrible decision because, sociology taught me a lot about understanding the world and understanding people, which I think actually does help with the social media age. There's a social element to it.
It does. A lot of people in advertising might major in psychology or economics and then fall into the advertising game. So yeah, it's not completely that far-fetched, but what's interesting is just founding all these different companies. From what I've read, you've really only been out of school since 2012, which is a little under 10 years. And so tell us a quick explanation of, what made you want to decide to found your own companies, or how did you get into marketing? How'd you break in?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story full of several pivots. After I graduated from college, I went and played professional American football overseas, Poland, Serbia, and I went to Brazil for a month. And so that took a little bit around 3 years of my life. And for me, it was a way to kind of, go and do something I was passionate about, but it was like discovery of who I was. And it was my first time to really like just be on my own and figure out what I wanted. Because I think, most young people, for most of their lives, they don't know who they are. They don't know where they're going. They have an idea of maybe what they would want, but they never had the opportunity to really be on their own. And I think I would encourage it for anyone. And, what it did for me is it made me realize that, I was being influenced in ways that I didn't even consider. And, a lot of people think being influenced by your environment is like, oh, these people are telling me to make these bad decisions and I'm making these bad decisions. No, like it's just in the mindset. Like I realized the people I was around were just smaller thinkers than I was.
And yeah, that's very important because, we always say, one of the things I always say is, I'm the only obstacle in my path to success, right? It's up to us. Like you felt that people weren't, they were telling you, don't do this, don't do that, but you stepped around that and basically went through that obstacle.
Yeah. It's things as simple as like, you're too meticulous or you're too competitive. And it's like, I'm around successful people.
You're like, that's a bad thing.
Yeah. Right. It's like, I find out later, it's like, no, you're not meticulous enough. You're not competitive enough. And so for me, that was important. And then when I was away, I was like, all right, what am I really good at? What do I want to do? And I became obsessed with just self-discovery, self-improvement. And I'd done things previously in the digital world. So like I held 3-on-3 basketball tournaments using Facebook marketing, and like we started our own basketball team and I did fundraisers through social media. So like it was all stuff that like I'd done, but I didn't know a job existed for when I was in college.
Yeah.
And as I started to figure out more and more about it and learn about community managers and, just what marketing was transitioning into, I was like, wait, why don't I do this? So when I looked at it, I was like, all right, well, I don't want to go work in an agency right now because I don't know what role I would like. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go do it myself. I'm going to develop my own brand. And then from there, that can not only help me figure out what I like, but I can be walking into a situation with a proven portfolio. I wouldn't just say, hey, I want to do marketing. I don't have a marketing degree.
Yeah.
What if I have a portfolio that can back up and say, actually, here's what I did myself?
Yeah, that is so important. I had a young lady call me, asked for my help, and she had just graduated college, and she was concerned about the fact that she didn't have any experience, and she didn't have an internship. So one of my suggestions to her was just ask a family friend or ask somebody that owns a business and just offer up your free time to them to start building creds, to be able to show, look, I took this business from point A to point B and did all this marketing and posts, and that's working out for her because now she has a story to present when she goes to apply for a job. And so that is so smart, thinking that you just took it in your own hands. A lot of people, or a lot of professionals, I think at your age, don't really think that far in advance about that your career is in your control. So
Yeah, and it's the advice I give to young people all the time. It's like, how are you going to differentiate yourself? You coming in, like when I'm looking to hire people, so you're coming in, you're like, I have a marketing degree. Like, I'll be honest, I don't care that much about that, because how does that mean that's like in a sport? It's like, oh, I studied basketball. All right, well, that doesn't mean you're going to be a good player at it. Show me that you've
so
done
true.
it. Go work. And exactly what you said, like go find 5 small businesses, tell them you're going to work with them all for the next few months, get a logo created on Fiverr, and start your own agency. Like, what is holding you back from saying that? Because guess what? Walking into one of these big agencies, you want to go work in New York or LA, you being able to say, oh, I started my own agency when I was 18, looks a lot better than, hey, I have my marketing degree. It's just a key differentiator.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting too is just taking having the strength to at least try it and fail. Even if you would have failed at it, right, you still would have had that experience. And I would have been very interested in hiring somebody like you that at least tried, even if you failed. So tell us a little bit about Built Different Creative. Why is it Built Different? I think just your name. I'd like to hear more about why you named it that, and tell us about your creative agency.
Yeah, so how I got to that point was through creating content. I grew to, it was like 140,000 followers on Facebook, 20 million video views. Became a speaker on mental health, then branding, then a bunch of different things. And what I realized throughout all of that was, one, I wanted to start a nonprofit first. So before I started Built Different, I started NFBD.
Yes.
So I was very mission focused with what I wanted to do. And
Yeah.
so,
Would you like to start there instead? Maybe
yeah,
start
I think
at
that could,
NFBD because that
I think it just
brought
helps
you.
the timeline. It might
Okay,
just make more
great.
sense. So I used what I had built from a mission focused social media element of things. So like at the time, you remember this, like 6-7 years ago when Vine was coming out, it was like either you're an influencer or you're like, I'm staying off the internet. The internet's bad for you. Like educated people were like, no, I'm not joining that. That's terrible. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I was learning a lot about foresight and all these people who were coming up with innovative products or companies. They're like, look 2 to 3 years ahead, look 5 years ahead, and come up with a thing that nobody's thinking of. And so for me at that time, I was like, all right, I think there's going to be a major push in the future for people who are going to want to sell messaging, people who are going to want to push positive messaging. So why don't I start a nonprofit? At the time, I was super broke. I was selling carpet for Empire Today. It's the worst job in the world.
I've had a lot of bad jobs too. I get
Yeah,
you.
it was miserable. It was terrible.
I had, I had 3 jobs at one time and I made 5,000 a year. So
Yeah, it was like 10
I don't know if you were there, but that's where I was.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was miserable, but it was one thing. It was commission only, so it would allow me to go take meetings, just take off whenever I wanted. So I started a nonprofit because I figured, if I could start a summer program, I could get a salary and work in the summer and then spend the rest of my time building the business that I want. So I started Vlog U, which is a social media marketing agency run by high school students. I realized through trying to get my own nonprofit funded, I learned a lot about how funding works. And all of these funders were giving money to people that give them maybe 80% in operational expenses, 10% in miscellaneous, and then 10% in marketing. I said, well, what are they doing with the marketing? Like, oh, they're getting flyers. They're spending $10,000 on flyers. I'm like, all right, maybe 10 years ago, but they need to be running digital ads. They need to be creating content.
So that's so let's stop there for a second, because if other people like you are thinking, hey, Jordon did this, he started a company, he didn't really have any startup funds. So finding a way to find funding was the way you were able to start. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I
Finding
think
it through nonprofits?
I think it's first it's being underemployed, finding something that can pay your bills, but isn't taking a bunch of your time. I have friends who are like, Jordan, I wanna start a business. It's like, okay, well, are you willing to let go of the okay salary you have now because it takes a lot of your time?
Yeah.
You need to find something that pays you less but takes less of your time so you can build your business. But then from there, you can look at, does my family have money? No. Can I get a loan? No. Do I have something that's worth giving up equity for? No. Do I want to grind this out for multiple years until, we start to get enough revenue that I could leave my job? For me, that was no. So it's like, all right, well, why don't I get a grant? Why don't I develop something that gave me grant money and that'll be my salary?
I mean, I've been in business now for 17 years, but I have never thought about that avenue. I think that's great that you were able to find a way to have a grant to be able to give you that first start to get going. So I think that's really genius. So
Thank you. Yeah, no, and it was a good first start. And then so what I did was I went to these funders and I said, you don't even need to take any new money out. Just consolidate that 10% of marketing you're giving to a certain amount of nonprofits. I'll train Pittsburgh public school students in the summer, and then they can go and work with and get hired by these nonprofits to do their marketing. Because that money that pool of money we're now creating is going to provide jobs and it's going to provide better marketing.
that's great. I love that. Okay, so you did that, and that's still going strong, right?
Yeah, we're in our fifth year. Yeah, we've employed over 35 Pittsburgh public school students.
That's great. So then how did you make the pivot, or I guess the extension maybe, to build different creative?
Yeah, so while this was going on, I was consulting, working with different companies, just realizing, where things were shifting. I never worked with large companies before; it was primarily small businesses, but I would collaborate up. So I'd get one here, and allow me to work with one here. I worked with a big law firm for about 2 years, directing TV commercials, managing ad spend, et cetera. And I learned a lot about how they operated with agencies because I'd never worked at an agency before.
Yeah.
So I didn't know the value proposition of an agency. I never even thought of doing it before. And as I was working with them, I realized, they're having a lot of issues with these traditional agencies because they're just not agile. They are used to creating campaigns for marketing. So it's 1 30-second spot a quarter or every 6 months. And
were they not, are you saying they weren't integrated too? Like they only understood the traditional piece of the business? They didn't understand how the digital rolled?
Yeah, well, a lot of the agencies we would encounter. And also the pricing model was the same as well, to where, you're paying the creative director, assistant creative director, copywriter, assistant copywriter, director of film, everyone. And it's like, it's harder for them to create margin if you want 6 videos a month for the price of what you're paying for 1 30-second spot.
That is so true. So we as an agency stay away from the creative end, because we focus mainly on media. But no, I mean, we've been saying that for years. You have to be able to put out more video content or more content for a lower cost. We've been saying that for about 5 years. And so are you saying that's how you kind of you're doing that, right? You're giving people the opportunity to be able to build more content that's very well done at an overall lower cost per content.
The agency essentially, it's built in a different way. It's not focused on, we don't have a ton of hierarchy. There's not, our team can be agile. We can turn a video around in 2 days if you needed one. And the model is set up to where we're very reference based. We have different styles of videos. We have an established process to where if you did need a 30-second spot or a highly produced video, we could do that. But if you needed 10 testimonial videos or 5 explainer videos, whatever those are, we're able to get those out and we're able to get them quickly. So that's what I realized the need was. And then the other side of our business is really building out the branding element. So, so much of traditional brands are very stale and they aren't dynamic. They have one tagline, they have one message. And so what I said is I want to teach brands how to be more dynamic with their messaging. I want to develop their brand positioning because there's more brands than ever. There's not just 5 wealth management firms, there's 200. So that tagline that you're using, it's used by 30 other ones, or it feels similar. So how can we refine our brand positioning and turn it into something that makes our brand more identifiable? So that's the other element that got me into all of this. And my first big one, honestly, was the Pittsburgh region brand.
Oh, okay. Through the Allegheny Conference or
Yeah. Mhm.
okay. Yeah. So you want to tell us a little bit about that campaign or?
Yeah. So that's ultimately what got my agency started, because I went from consulting, and then there's a lot of exposure that comes along with working something like that. So it's like, okay, I think I'm in a good place to start an agency now.
Yeah.
I know the people that work in the conference, marketing people, other people, leadership, they're all great people. And basically what happened is, they had seen some of the other things I'd done. I'd worked with Pittsburgh's Innovation District, and, all the data backed up that in order to have a city that's thriving, you need to have a strong digital presence. It used to be, you needed just a good website, but now it's
Yep.
like you need a strong digital brand. And everything I'd done up to that point was like exactly how I said before. It was working on selling a message. I was not product focused with anything I'd done up to this point. And so they were interested, came our proposal, and then we started a process that involved one, like discovery sessions with talent, job creators, investors, and basically finding the overlap in messaging for what they all felt was Pittsburgh's brand positioning.
Yeah. Did you have any involvement in the Proud to Protect Pittsburgh that they launched?
So that was through another partner, but we had some involvement with that. Yeah.
Okay. Because little known fact, we did the media buying for that. So,
oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, we launched that around the holidays for them. So, okay, so this is all great stuff. So, Slash Athletes, that looks like that's your newest venture right now. It seems like you continue to extend in your current. So tell us about how to me, it sounds like maybe it has something to do with your football background.
Yeah. So
Tell us about that.
So when you look at athletes as a whole, athletes are the ultimate influencer. Even in high school, influence comes natural. But most of the athletes I know go to college to play sports, just get stuck working jobs that they hate. And it just didn't make sense for me, if we're in the age of influence and intention, that those where influence comes natural, they're stuck after they're done playing sports. And part of it is their own fault, because they put everything they have into their own sport, which, you're young, it happens. But I felt like the other angle of it was that there wasn't enough programming to teach these athletes how to use all this attention on them now and to turn it into network, connection, and opportunity in the future. So I developed Slash to do just that, to teach athletes how they can leverage their own personal brands while the attention is on them, to build up the following, the network, the connections that can lead in what they're doing next.
Did that idea come about? Because aren't they changing the NCAA rules where now these students can now kind of possibly make money off their own personal brand, or they're trying to change the rules because a college basketball student that has all these fans and followers really, they're bringing the attention to the game from their brand.
Yep.
Did that come out of that at all, or were you already on the head of that? You did say you try to be 5 years ahead, right?
I would say 6 years ago, we started one of the largest high school all-star football games on the East Coast. And it was built around building players' personal brands. So for about 6 years, we've had a game that we've had workshops and mentoring before the game with the players, teaching them how to be more effective online leaders, teaching them how to build their brands. So we've been doing it for about 6 years now.
Yeah. So that's a great question to ask. So mentoring, it seems like you mentor a lot of high school students and people in general. Who's your mentor, or do you have mentors that have kind of helped you get where you are today?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've had a specific mentor. I think like a lot of the information I've learned is from people that don't even know I exist. Being like obsessed with YouTube and obsessed with audiobooks and things like that. But I would say, I was a part of, if you're familiar with Ascender's initial incubator.
Yes.
And, there's Stephen Mueller, Bobby Spall, Dan Law, like all those guys. I honestly wouldn't have been anywhere without them, because they took my idea took me in, taught me how to build a budget, my first pitch deck, like all of the things.
Yeah, that's definitely mentorship, not even realizing it, that they were helping you, build the skills needed to be able to be where you are today. Helping you get there, I think, right? So
even how to something as simple as like replying all to emails, knowing when to reply all and when not.
I find younger people don't hit reply all.
They
What
never
is that
do.
all about? What is that all about?
I know, right?
I'm trying to interview somebody right now who's getting ready to graduate college, and I had put the people on the email that I needed her to reply to, and she did not. So I was like, interesting. Yeah, so I believe mentorship is very important, to get it, to receive it, and to give it. And it's great that you're doing that too. So far, like you have your hands on a lot of things. What's been your most favorite project that you have done, or maybe favorite campaign, or what's the most exciting thing that really has made you feel, wow, we accomplished that, and you're very excited about it?
I think, working on the Pittsburgh region brand, helping the digital strategy, helping, creating all the content for that is cool, because I believe so deeply in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
So being able to market something that you believe in, I think is the perfect combination. I would say two others where we've been helping to launch an alcohol brand in Detroit from scratch, and they sold out in the first 3 days, which is like amazing. So like we've done pretty much everything for them.
That's great. I might have a client for you, by the way.
Cool. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. And so like what we're doing with them is actually a cool campaign. We're marketing that it's sold out. So like we're getting a billboard, just advertising.
That's the key, right? You're building the, you must want this because you can't get it.
Right. All of our digital ads, everything says we're sold out. And then the other one that we just did recently is, and it's honest, this is my favorite, is it's a brand collaboration, but it's such like a natural fit. So I started to volunteer during COVID with different small businesses, how I could provide marketing for them. One, we lost all our clients during COVID. I was supposed to launch my agency March 14th. Okay, COVID was like right then.
March, St. Patrick's Day reminds me of the day that COVID really sunk in.
Right.
So, good timing. Yep.
So I had all these clients lined up, and then I lost them all until about July. And so that was tough. And so, I just started reaching out, like, who can I work with for free, et cetera. And I'd heard about this 21-year-old entrepreneur who started his own ice cream shop on the North Side.
Oh yeah, we just read about your article. We were circulating it a couple of days ago. The black and gold ice cream looks really, black and yellow, sorry. Black and yellow ice cream looks very delicious for some reason.
No, it's good. Yeah, to try it. So this is like what I love about marketing. What I'm kind of, some marketing people may be mad at me for saying it, but like if you're in the
be your authentic self, right? What would they be mad about? Go ahead.
Right. Yeah, this is good quotes for the podcast.
Yes.
When you look from a creative end, I would say from a creative end, people view like marketing as like just doing, like, oh, I'm going to sit you in front. We're going to sit you in front of this table. We're going to record you. And then we're going to put some B-roll over top of it. Everyone does that. It's not marketing. I could take someone who doesn't know anything about video and they would come up with that same idea. That's what I say to my team all the time. If I were to bring someone in who doesn't know anything about marketing and they would have come up with an idea similar to that, what's the point of the idea?
Yes. That's
what I always push on is what is our point of differentiation? How can we be creative? How can we figure out ways to get attention? How can we source things that we see or we read or we've heard about or inspired by and bring that into our work? So do you ever watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Of course. I love Larry David.
So you saw the episode where Larry David got his own sandwich named after him?
I don't think I saw that one, but I can only imagine where this is going.
Right. So he gets the Larry David sandwich. So we're working with this dessert shop and we're just giving them content and things like that. But I'm like, I want a big idea. And then I saw that and it's like, wait, it's like this deli, but all these celebrities have sandwiches named after them. And that became their thing. So now they're getting celebrities to just come to this random deli because why would you not want your own sandwich named after you? So I'm like, all right, well, why wouldn't you want your own ice cream flavor named after you?
That's
So
so great.
I
Yeah.
reached
King
out
of
to,
Queens. I don't know if you know, King of Queens did that too. They were
no, I
fighting over the
didn't.
sandwich. They were naming this one sandwich theirs, and it just kept changing, and they were fighting over that. So
Yeah, and I know it's been done before, but I think it was the element of like,
no, it's a great idea, just applying it now to a different brand of a different kind of food, right? And it's not, I mean, in Pittsburgh, I don't think we have too many sandwiches named after people, correct?
right.
So
It's like free influencer marketing. So you get Taylor Gang and all these people coming in and knowing about the shop, because for them they're like people are commenting on their posts, oh, you finally made it, like so like it's giving them an element that adds importance.
oh yeah, I mean, you know, Wiz Khalifa putting that up on his, I don't even know how many followers he has, but it has to be in the millions. You know, I know that the ice cream is named after his song, correct? Because the person that you're
His
naming the
manager.
ice cream is his manager. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
his manager.
Yeah. So you know, he posted, and that's how things just kind of blow up, right? And then
Right.
you just get a lot of organic growth. You know, so we work in the paid, earned, shared, owned. You know, we call it the peso model. And we believe everything paid can roll out to earned, can roll out to shared and owned media channels. And so that's a perfect example of you doing that, right? Using the idea to get the content, to get out, you know, maybe you create video ads and then you run that on a, you know, you start buying video ads. And so it's a great way to use marketing and use your media dollars. Um, so how would you encourage someone to find or follow their passion? Because what I'm hearing from you over and over again, the first thing is you're not afraid to fail, which, you know, that is so important for, I think, growth or even growing companies or being an entrepreneur. Because, you know, here you are again, you said we finally started growing clients, we started growing, and then COVID hit and we started over again, right? And so I think that's so interesting that, you know, it's people that don't have those safety nets. I heard you say you couldn't go and get money from your parents. You couldn't get money from, you know, a bank. And so I don't think people realize that's the same situation I was in. I didn't really have any parachute to fall into. And so, you know, so for listeners out there that might be afraid or might not sure how to get started, tell us a little bit about how you were able to, you know, really move forward and do that, I guess, without that much fear. And how should they follow their passion? Because I also believe that if you do something, you wake up every day and you do something you love to do, you're going to love your job, right? You're going to work really hard. So how did you find that passion, or how would you suggest others find their passion?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think it's, you know, for me, it's what things currently bother you. Like, what can you be an active participant in changing? So how can you tie impact to what you do? Because that really adds intentionality with everything. Like for me, it's access, it's influence, it's impact. So knowing that, you know, the more successful what I become and the things I do, the more people I can help get jobs, the more you know, the more wide known my initiatives become. You know, so just understanding like the purpose behind everything you do is,
Purpose. Yeah, that's great. Like your purpose for waking up, right?
yeah,
Is
it is.
to build those jobs. And yeah.
What, and I would say with that is, and I get on a lot of young people with this, like we have our Vlog U students who are 17, 18, they're like, I'm going to go start this business. And I'm like, all right, tell me about it. And it's like, all right, I have this idea of this. I'm like, all right, that exists. Did you Google it? Well, no. Did you look up all the competitors? No. Did you build out a budget or ask about? Well, no. And it's like that. How serious are you about your ideas? Because, you know, I think the younger generation, Gen Z, at times is very sensitive about like being critiqued. And you know, I would say is, you know, the constructive criticism with all of this is it's entirely on you to how prepared you are going to be with whatever it is you're going to launch. So my non-fear of failure has come from my ability to prepare. So I have researched hundreds, thousands of hours understanding how agencies work. I've put a ton of work into my personal brand and taking people out to lunches and dinners and just
So
all
so
that.
you weren't just lucky?
Right, exactly. So it's that element where it's like you can control a lot of this and it's entirely on you. So I see a lot of people that sure there's times where you're unlucky, but a lot of the people
Yeah.
who fail is because they failed to prepare and
Yeah.
doing
Well,
everything
you know, luck is when opportunity meets preparedness,
right.
right?
Exactly.
So yeah, you're hitting it, hitting the nail on the head. So that's all great. And so did I hear you say something that younger people have a hard time with criticism or feedback? Is that something
Yeah, I don't want to
you
sound,
just
I'm
said?
31. I don't want to sound like I'm getting old, but I think things are changing and I think it's for the better. But I think
Yeah.
with that, you're gonna have drawbacks. So I think that we are becoming a little bit more open as a society and more transparent, which I think is very important. But I think with that, what can happen sometimes is some people get pushed in the wrong direction and they feel the need to want to defend themselves. But in reality,
Correct.
like there is an element to this honesty and criticism that can help you to be better. Like I'm not saying that this has nothing to do with like cancel culture. This has to do with just
Yeah.
like, like if someone's working for me and I'm like, hey, you're not doing a good job. Just, not saying it in a rude way, but like being able to have that level of honesty with someone allows them to improve.
Grow. Yeah. And so we practice radical candor. Have you heard that book by
No,
Ken Scott? You're going to want to look it up because it's exactly that. Radical candor is coming from a place of caring, but being direct about it. And
God,
so the opposite is you care and you say nothing. That's ruinous sympathy. So it sounds like that's what you're practicing is that, look, I care about you. I want to help you grow. I want to help you succeed. And therefore I need to be direct and tell you what you can be better at. So I do feel that younger people are, having a hard time taking as feedback that's really only being meant to help them grow in their careers. So
yeah, well, I think with that too, just to add, young people own the internet. So they own the narratives, they own the trends, they own the way things are communicated, which is great. I fully believe in that. And there's something we can learn from that. But when you translate that over into the physical world at times, there's a little bit of an ego that's attached to like, oh, well, you don't even understand how the world works because they own the internet. So they may
yes.
look at, someone who's not on it or doesn't have a brand or a page, whatever, and they're like, well, how can you tell me what to do? You don't even know what Twitter memes are popular. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the element of ego that's being developed because young people own the internet, which I think they're good in a sense, but it hurts with being able to take criticism.
What's something you would want somebody to know that maybe just is getting ready to graduate? So I think right now has got to be a very hard time to get a job right now. So I don't even know what college grads would be feeling right now, and the fact that almost like hopeless, right? We're entering May, June, and we're still closed. It's been over a year. I guess we're starting to open up a little bit more. But what advice do you have for that almost recent college grad?
Put off getting a job as long as possible because you
Okay, that's
still
great.
probably don't know what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're in like, the law, medical, like accounting, like where there's like certifications involved. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're like a business major, that thing that you think you want to go do for 35K a year, you're just going to end up getting stuck doing something you hate for the next 15 years, chasing your next promotion. I'm not saying that like it's everybody, but that I think that does apply to a lot of people who are going to feel pressure that I need to go work somewhere right away. And that's where you get stuck in bad company cultures with bad bosses. And where I push young people on is like, if you're going to go work somewhere right now, go find the most progressive, modern company you can. Don't just go work for a corporation because you're going to get eaten up. You're going to have a terrible experience. You want to go somewhere where you could be one touch point away from the CEO. You want to be able to go somewhere where you can actually learn. Don't go, oh, I can make 45K here, but this startup's only going to pay me 35K. I'd say go to the startup. Well,
Oh yeah, and I think that's another misconception of recent grads too. Is some of them think they're going to get out of school and get paid $90,000, and I like more of the mentality of, look, I want a shot, I want a chance. Yeah, pay me that entry level. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to do whatever I can to absorb and learn and show you all the things I can do. And I think that creates more passion too. So
I mean, it kind of puts you, like, you get put in silos with corporate companies. It's like, I have friends who work at like paycheck, some companies, like you sell different
that's
paycheck.
full disclosure, that's our client, Paychecks.
Okay. We have AP, you have paychecks, you have multiple. And what I
Yeah.
would say is that's a good job if you love sales, if you
Mhm.
love it. But if you're like a business person and you're like, I want to get into business, so I'm going to go get this sales job because I can make 40K a year and get 20K in bonuses. And it's like, all right, that's not necessarily business. I mean, that's sales. And so understand exactly what you're getting into. Don't try and justify what the salary is or anything else, because that's still not going to make you feel good about your career.
Yeah.
No matter what that amount of money is, you're still not going to feel good about what you do. You're not going to wake up with that purpose.
I think another trap that younger people can get into is that 5 year after college trap. So now you've been in a job for a couple of years. You got the apartment, you got the car, you got you have all the bills, and now you can't leave the job to maybe go and try something different.
Yep.
Or I actually did that. So I was making 40,000. I think I was 24, and I left that job to make 400 a month in sales. And I couldn't have done that if I was married or had kids, but it actually led me to a better job. And because I didn't have the experience that they wanted, I was like, all right, I'll take $400 a month. I'll make this work. And I ended up making that $40,000 in the next 6 months. So it's just, I think it's believing in yourself, right? And all those things. But, I think that, you have to, I think right out of college, before marriage, before kids, that's the time you should experiment and really try to find your passion and work.
Go
So,
live your life. Yeah.
so we know you're about 11 years out of school. So you got a good, 30 years, 40 years more of work. Where do you see yourself in, let's say 5, maybe 10 years? Start with 5. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's been so many pivots with my life that it's kind of hard to determine at times. And I would say the answer is more of an aspirational one, not necessarily like a tangible one. I think for me, it's more of being able to have the access and influence to where I can have the opportunities that I want to be a part of. That, like, what I know I can accomplish, I'm able to have access to those opportunities. And it's not like, oh, I know if I just had a chance, I'd be able to do well at that. It's like I have enough exposure and enough connection and seen on that level to where I can engage with anyone and be able to get
Yeah, and that's all going to be effort on your part. And the more effort you put into it, the more it's going to happen. Another great book, if you haven't read it, is The Compound Effect.
No, I haven't.
Have you read that one?
No, I haven't.
So the compound effect is all about, getting up every day and making one small change and doing it every single day. And that how you just have to keep doing it. And then it's pretty much a habit. And then the more you do it, the more it expands and everything. And so, it helps you make changes in your organization. It helps you, obviously that, in your life, you have to work really hard and put the effort in to go 5 years and then have the opportunities that you're probably going to have. I would bet money on the fact that you're going to have every opportunity you want 5 years from now, because you're doing the work, you're putting in the effort. So
thank you. Yeah, I think it's being able to have access, but I think from like an agency standpoint, it's important for me to grow but not get too big, because the culture of my company is very important to me, and it's our value proposition. Working with us, exactly what you're going to get, and I'm able to pitch that culture as a differentiator versus a way bigger agency that has 400, 500 employees, because the arguments I can make are based off of who we are and what an investor would say is, oh, what if you were to get run over by a bus? I would say, well, why would we ever even think like that? That's
Yeah.
like, what kind of question is that? And you know what if Elon Musk were to get run over by a bus? Tesla would suffer. Like we live in the age to where, your CEOs, the higher up people in your company, they make a huge difference in your company, whether you're big or small. And so this idea that like you need to take the identity out of who you are in order to be able to scale, I don't personally agree with. I agree where it makes sense from like a money standpoint, but from a cultural standpoint, building culture, I don't agree with it at all.
Now, I just read something a little, I want to say 2 weeks ago, about actually putting your culture or your brand standard to partner with a client into your contract. Have you ever done that?
Oh no, that's cool. What
Isn't
did
that a
it
great idea? We're going to
Yeah, what
work
did it
on.
say?
So basically, in your contract, you actually list what they're committing to as a partnership with you, and that is being honest, transparent, feeling safe, divulging information, and
Oh,
because that's the reason why a lot of times we've given up on clients, because we feel that they weren't transparent with us, or they didn't take our direction. And so that's a unique thing that I just read about that I thought was great.
that's the
So
biggest lesson. Sorry, just with that, because I think it's
yeah.
something that you have a lot more experience with than I do, is not being afraid to put into contracts exactly how you feel and what you want, rather, because when you're still in the early stages, and we've gotten a couple bigger clients recently, you just want to make them happen, and you don't want to show resistance. And then what I've come to find out is it's a nightmare if you don't put in that end of things.
Well, you just said that you're differentiating yourself by holding to your culture and your brand, even with, extending yourself to the clients. This is the way we work, adding it to your contract. I think being very upfront and transparent on how you like to do business, clients do like that, because you will find clients out there that want the same thing. So agencies, as we know, sometimes over the years have had bad reps because they haven't been transparent, they haven't been honest all the time. I'm not saying all of them are doing that, but over the years of history, there has been sort of a reputation of not being honest and transparent. So I think that that's another way to just differentiate yourself, because I have found that we did the same thing you're saying. We might take on a client just to get the client. And then over time, as we continue to say, look, you can't treat us that way, or, you have to listen to us, at the end, you're never going to win that. And so maybe in your timing being newer, yeah, maybe it's not time to really, put that line in the sand. But it sounds to me like you're so strong and passionate about your brand and culture that I don't see why a client would have a problem with it. So
No, it's a great point. Yeah, no, it's a
yeah.
great.
So I have one last question.
Yeah.
The last name is Rooney.
Yeah.
Any relation?
No, I don't know. I mean, people think so, but like I wouldn't have had my broke journey to get here
I was going to say that you were going to say no, because yes, I think you would
unless
have
I
a
was
little
just
bit more help.
a strange relative that I ran away when I was young and decided to do everything on my own. No, it wasn't.
Yes.
That wasn't the case. I grew up in Newcastle. I have a great family, small family, comes from very humble beginnings. But it's actually hurt me. Like I'm probably like one of the only people who my last name hurts me when growing a company, because people are like, why do I want to meet with them?
Well, have you noticed my last name?
Yeah, right.
I'm the baseball dynasty. You're the football dynasty.
Right.
We're not related.
People just assume, and I'm like, no, like I actually do need help.
Yeah, like I was raised the same way, like, humble beginnings, had to do everything on my own. Nobody gave me anything. And now that I married a Murtaugh, which has no relation to the family, I sometimes wonder if people are like, oh, she's related to the Murtaugh family, right? Of Pirates baseball. So yeah, so I feel like I wonder if it hurts me too. So we got the baseball and the football together today, right?
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I don't know if you want to leave us with any last quotes or comments or anything that you think would really help somebody that maybe even want to switch this. Somebody might be watching this that's pretty much like, wow, I'm miserable, I'm 32, I want to switch into a new career. How do I do that? So anything. I do think a lot of it has to do with jumping out of a plane without a parachute or not having a safety net. I know that's what I did. It sounds like that's what you're doing, and even being afraid to fail.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, it's all good points. I think a lot of it comes from like, just how do you spend your time? Like, you can hate your job all day and then say, all right, well, I'm going to eat junk food and I want to watch Netflix to kind of escape this. And it's like, that's a short-term fix. Imagine if you just found one thing. Imagine Facebook ads. You could spend 6 months and really dive in, maybe not become an expert, but like be able to run Facebook ads for small businesses.
So it's very easy to learn that. It really is. We hire entry-level people to learn that. So it's very simple.
Yeah, I learned Facebook ads just coming home from work and then just practicing it and making fake accounts.
Watching videos, the whole bit.
Just be intentional. Like, you are entirely in control of what happens in your life. And if you find yourself blaming anybody else, even if it is somebody else's fault, doesn't matter. It's not gonna get you anywhere. So take full accountability on where you are and figure out how you get through that, because then you'll be able to move on to whatever you're doing next.
Yeah, like I said, I say all the time, I started telling my team, like, I am the only obstacle in my path to success. So knowing that, it's up to me to make change in this company. I'm open, like I try to keep an open environment. Our culture is very much that. And, but I don't like if somebody's blaming me for them not, excelling in their job, because it's really up to you. It's up to you as the individual to succeed. So, well, thank you so much for your time today. I would like to ask you real quick, Jordon, are you okay if people reach out to you on LinkedIn or follow you or send you a message? Would you mind if we had you mention your accounts or how to find you if they had a question?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always one that's been under the belief of like, I like to be accessible.
Yes, me too.
Where I was trying to grow a business and there were a lot of people who could have helped me that weren't accessible. And I don't want to sound arrogant, but like I've passed some of them up already. And
oh yeah, no, I think being open and accessible is a very strong character trait. Yeah. Okay, so if anyone would like to follow up and reach out to Jordon Rooney today, please find him on LinkedIn, send him a message, and I'm sure he'll be open to maybe asking any or answering any questions you might have.
No pyramid schemes.
Say that again?
No pyramid schemes.
No pyramid schemes. Okay. Anybody with a pyramid scheme, please do not reach out to Jordon Rooney. Jordon Rooney, not part of the Rooney Pittsburgh Dynasty football family. Thank you for tuning into today's HMDL podcast. If you feel that any of this information would be relevant to somebody you know, please share it. And also follow us on our social media platforms. I'm Shea Murtaugh, and I look forward to seeing you at our next podcast.